Hi, everyone. It's nice to be with you. And I almost didn't know if I would be able to do this week because we did have a big snowstorm here in New Jersey on Monday, which is the day that I meet with the children. So I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was able to meet with them before the storm started. It's hard to believe we're like going into the second Sunday of Lent this coming Sunday. The story of the transfiguration of Jesus, which can be another one that could be a difficult kind of lesson to teach them or to share with them, because I found as we were getting into this, to the gospel, a whole bunch of questions were coming up from them. I mean, really deep questions like about the devil, because they had heard last Sunday's gospel that was fresh on their minds from Sunday. So, talking about our own resurrection and things. And these are heavy duty kinds of topics. When they're younger, the kids are more, you're really trying to strengthen that relationship with Jesus and really cement that. And that's what should be happening. And that's what happens through these materials that we use. So for that, that's great. It's all about Jesus all the time. And it should be. But now that they're getting older, my grandchildren, they're more curious. They're wanting to know more concrete answers. And so they're at that place of and they're good questions. So I decided, I think what I might do with them, I'm going to try it, is if they have any questions beforehand, let me know what they are. And if I have to look anything up, I can answer them. But then again, you want to be spontaneous enough so that you can deal with whatever pops up into their minds. So we had a good lesson. As I said, it was very vibrant. Again, the transfiguration of Jesus can be difficult because if you ever see a video of it or imagine it from reading the scriptures, it could be very magical. It can seem very magical. There's Jesus dressed in, all things. His gown is turning, or robe is turning pure white. His face, he's with Peter and James and John, goes up a mountain again, and this wonderful thing happens. And just to explain to them again through that doctrine of it all, the transfiguration, what does that really mean for us? And to talk about resurrection. So just from this one gospel, you can peel layers and layers and layers, from it, but we don't want to get too far out. I was finding, as I said, they were really questioning, and I had to stop them. I found myself in a dilemma. You may have found yourselves in this dilemma as well. You have the material you want to cover, but at the same time, they're asking questions. You don't want to ignore those questions. So, for example, we talked about resurrection, and I believe one of the questions that came up in the lesson is, when we die, who do you want to meet in heaven? That could be a whole day's worth of conversation, or at least a couple of hours, or at least an hour. They were interesting because what I loved, and one of the things that I'm seeing aside from this lesson in their development, I saw them Sunday, and I said, we didn't have a lesson the week before because it was the week of President's Week and winter break. And I said, you went to Mass this morning? Oh, yeah, we did, Grandma. What was the gospel about? Oh, it was about Jesus being tempted in the desert and, for 40 days. So even though we didn't have a lesson per se, they're at a place where they're kind of groomed into almost, I don't want to say a habit, but they're groomed into what's coming, and they're being trained, let's put it that way, in listening. So that even though we hadn't covered that gospel the week before, they knew that they needed to be tuned in. And I was very impressed with that. And I told them, I said, I think that's really good. I think you're paying attention. That's most important. And they could recite whatever was going on with that gospel from last week. So they are listening. I had them choose a song, which they did. And they're very proud when they can participate actively like that, like there's some kind of being in charge. And I did offer them like a little mini Lenten prayer service, because we didn't meet the week before, knowing that Ash Wednesday was coming up. So we did a prayer about Lent, discussed Lent. But the one thing that did come up because of last Sunday's gospel was this whole idea of the devil. This is the question from Justin. Grandma, if God made everything good, how could God have made the devil, who does nothing but bad? Good question. Child is thinking. So I said, I went into the whole idea of the fallen angel thing and all that, and that, yes, God creates everything good, but sometimes we rebel against God, and we want to make sure we don't do that, because that's what the devil did. So the temptation, the tempter, all of that, and temptation. So, I think for next week, I'm going to ask them, what questions do you have? And we can talk about it. We did a little video just so that they could get an idea, which I think always clarifies the lesson a bit. And they were very into it. They were very into the learning. And I think it's because they just went back to school. So they were good and anticipating a snow day the day after. Next week, we will do their assessment for Unit 3. And I told them, I said, if you want to go over things that you already have, that's fine. They're navigating the Bible really well. For ventures people, they had scripture passages to read on the front cover. So they did. And to tie in all of that together with the Transfiguration gospel was really nice and cool. So it was good. Rushed out of there before the snow came, but they're getting it. And I think what we have to do sometimes is step back and see where they are. Are there any obstacles to their learning? Take an evaluation for ourselves once in a while and see where they're going. But that's what I'm seeing for now. I'm sure there'll be a little, blockage here or there, because that's the way things go. But basically, they're getting it and feeling more and more empowered by learning, so that then when they do participate, whether it be mass, whether it be a prayer service, whatever they need to do, they feel they can do it. They have ownership. And that's really what I would love for them to have. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions, certainly email me at marilyn@flom.com, and I'd be happy to respond to any of your questions or concerns. Enjoy it. I hope your Lent is going well. I hope it's all that you hope it to be. And if not, that it will be what you hope it to be. So for these next days before Easter, I wish you a blessed Lent. Take care. See you next week.